Well, the way the law was rewritten, 127A, is now Hawaii Emergency Management Administration, or agency, they're like a support role now. They support all the civil defense and emergency management agencies in the counties.
So the state supports the counties?
Yes. Under the situation where it's a governor's declaration, they become the lead.
To what degree do you interact with state emergency management on a daily or weekly or monthly basis? Tell us how that works.
Well, obviously, because of the state we're in right now, pretty much almost daily, and with email and so forth, it is multiple times daily. But at least weekly, we've been face to face now with them, either going to Oahu or they come here.
Really?
Yes.
And you say because of the state we're in. What state is that?
Well, dealing with the nuclear threat, the possible nuclear threat.
What have they told you about what would actually happen were North Korea to drop an atomic bomb on Oahu, if they chose to do that, which everybody, all the experts say is highly unlikely, but if that were to occur, what has state civil defense or state emergency management told you about physically what would happen?
There's multiple scenarios, and because of the nature of what the explosive device might be, and where impact would be, kind of depends on what the outcome would be for, like us here on the Hawaii Island. The probability is very low that any of this will happen, but the government emergency management understands that we need to plan ahead. We need to do something, put some plans in place in case it happens. So we're in the process of putting that together, along with state emergency management. They'll be coming out with some public service announcements, and we'll be doing some briefings to different organizations and coming out to the public shortly with messages.
Well, state civil defense had initially put out something that if there was a nuclear bomb dropped in the state, that people should go inside and wait. What exactly would people be waiting for? And how would they get the information that they're waiting for? What's your sense of that?
Well, the different programs that are out there are tracking what's going on in North Korea. So if there's a launch, shortly after, they would know pretty good with what the targeted area is. So an alert would be put out, and that's when they say that people should be taking action to, I guess, prevent less injury from fallout. If you're going to be in an impact area, no matter where it is, whether it's Hawaii or whatever landmass they're looking for, if you're going to be in an impact area, there's going to be death and injury. There's going to be radiation impacts to the people that are that are hit by the fallout. So we've got to prepare for that level of impact. Then we've got to prepare for the level of just dealing with fallouts.
And so what are people supposed to do? First of all, if a nuclear bomb was dropped on Oahu, that's about 200 miles from the Big Island. Have they told you what the impact would be on the Big Island?
It'd predominantly be fallout.
Okay, so we would, as I understand it, we would not actually feel much of the effect, although there might be some seismic tremors as a result?
That I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still, all that other, like you say, seismic, tsunami.
Well, I don't think tsunami, just as I mentioned to you before we started talking, my husband happens to be a physicist, and that was his area of expertise, and his opinion was that we would probably have no visible sightings of ground level effects, but there would be possibility of people seeing the light flash, and depending on how high up the bomb exploded, because nuclear bombs do not typically hit the ground, they typically are set to explode above the land because that's how they impact in the greatest force, but that we might even be able to see a mushroom cloud depending on how far up they actually had the bomb set to explode. So, but he said, you know, it wouldn't cause the kind of destruction, physical destruction. But you mentioned fallout. Does state emergency management have any kind of a plan to help us avoid the impact of fallout? Because I'm not really clear that they could have such a plan. So I'm curious to know what they've told you.
Well, the message will address the fallout, and we're looking at 3 types of impacts: water, land, or air burst. So each has its different features. So we've got to look at those different impacts.
Civil Defense had indicated that there was going to be a different kind of siren tone warning if there's a nuclear bomb. Tell us about that.
So the wailing tone, the attack siren, is planned to come out in December 1st. That's what they're tentatively putting out now.
So right now, our tsunami siren warnings that are tested at the beginning of the month, it's a solid tone.
Steady tone.
So what would this nuclear tone be?
It'll be a up and down wailing tone.
Okay, and so at that point, we're supposed to go inside and wait. How will you, Talmadge Magno, know what to tell people? If it drops on Oahu, I don't think they're going to be in any position to talk to you about anything. So what are you going to tell people? How do you know what you're going to tell people, or is that still under development?
It's still under development. We're working on it. Like I said, there's several scenarios that we have to take into account, and so we want to address each of them. And you're right, we're actually planning for the likelihood that there is no communications as well. So getting the information out early to people, so one, they recognize what the siren is for and taking the appropriate actions. Going to be important, you know, to get out to the public.
I'd like to turn to events that are far more likely to happen here on Hawaii Island than a nuclear strike, because these are things I think that people really do need to be prepared for.
And I think that's important because, you know, we've got the volcanoes, the earthquakes. We're still in hurricane season. More likelihood that that kind of stuff is going to happen. But what we do is we want everybody to be ready for anything. So, you know, State Emergency Management put out earlier this year a 14-day preparation, you know, supplies and so forth that people should have. Kind of coincides also with the nuclear threat as well. But, you know, if you can, that's better for you. If you can't, do what you can. We understand that that's quite a bit of an investment financially, and as well as, you know, taking up space in your house and stuff. But preparedness for everything is what we're preaching.
Actually, I found at Costco, they have I don't know how long it's supposed to last for, but it's like a bucket, and it has a bunch of freeze-dried food in it. And I actually just stuck it in the back of my pantry, and I don't even know it's there, except I do know it's there if I ever need it. And I think it's what you say is really important. After the hurricane hit Puerto Rico, and it was pretty clear that they had significant damage and destruction, and the President of the United States said it was really hard to get aid to Puerto Rico because it was an island in the middle of water, big water. We're way further away from the mainland than Puerto Rico is, and so I think people need to really embrace the fact that it is up to each one of us to be prepared and have our own supplies, our own water, because the federal government may not get here, and even Hawaii County Civil Defense and emergency responders on this island, police and fire, depending on what the emergency is, they may not have access to people who need their help or want their help.
Right, so you know, we're wanting people to get prepared, and you mentioned the first responders and so forth, and that's another thing we're trying to create, is that the county employees, especially the first responders, police, fire, my civil defense staff, that your family, you are prepared so that in the time of need, your plans have been in place. You know that your family's going to be taken care of, that you can be secure that they're going to be okay, and you can come to work, to help.